general manager, Dan Morgan, said we're looking for some dogs. I'll tell you what, Robert Hunt is a dog, and I do not think they are done.
They're going all in on this interior offensive line.
He's always had a toughness about him. He is a physical, hard-nosed guy.
Robert Hunt left the Miami Dolphins to sign a 5-year, $100 million deal.
They addressed their biggest weakness. Very, very good signing for them.
Dog fight.
I don't care about what we can't do. What can we do? Who are these players that we have, and how are we going to maximize those strengths on a daily basis?
We want players with grit. We want players like Steve Smith.
Makes the grab, touchdown!
I'm going to bet on us. I love a great challenge.
And that's our goal, is to roll up our sleeves and find those type of players that are going to help us get back to home playoff games.
Dan Morgan and Dave Canales are cooking, man. That's the word in Carolina, cooking. Talking about barbecue, talking about fish. No, we're talking about bringing talent to the Carolinas. Everybody's calling it a rebuild. Some people are calling it a retool. Some people are calling it Dan Madness. But I really look at Dan Morgan bringing in caliber players that he knows Dave and himself want, which are dogs. And when you look at it, when you make a trade like Deontay Johnson from the Pittsburgh Steelers, he's a dog. He had to play for Mike Tomlin in the city of Pittsburgh. When you look at it, you have to have tough skin. Yes, I understand the outside noise where the media is trying to make it seem like he's a diva. He stops on routes. He throws tantrums whenever he doesn't get the ball. But you have to remember, we had that type of wide receiver here in Carolina, and Steve Smith. Steve Smith had to go along with Cam Newton. Yes, I understand we cut our ties with Steve because of Cam, but I think you have to have that dog type wide receiver that's going to demand the ball and also make your quarterback better, man. Shout out to our guy Quan and our guy AJ, respectively, the Panthers Experience and All Pro Sports Talks. I will drop the link in our description where you can go both see both of their videos talking about offseason acquisitions so far with Carolina, man. But when I really look at it, Deontay Johnson brings another aspect to Bryce Young. He brings a wide receiver that some people say he drops the ball, some people say he doesn't. But stats don't lie. He's in the top 4 of drop rate right now in the NFL. Separation, he was top 4. One thing Carolina Panther fans were complaining about was we have nobody that can separate. We have nobody that Bryce can look for, but they're covered all the time. You don't have that now. Yes, you have a short-handed wide receiver, Adam Thielen, still here and get separation in Deontay Johnson and actually help him throughout games, along with a rookie that we possibly will be drafting again. We still are looking at wide receiver help. It doesn't stop just because we made a trade for this young man. So I definitely give Dan Morgan and Dave Canales a solid B with this trade. Just depends on, because with him only having 1 year left on his contract, this is a proven year for Deontay Johnson. Can you go to another organization? Can you show out? Can you change the narrative and possibly get your money now? You have a young quarterback that needs a number 1 wide receiver. You're here now, man. And like I said, I give a lot of credit to Dan Morgan. A lot of people were skeptical of Dan Morgan. Call him another Scott Fitter 2.0. This man is his own man. And shout out to Brandon Bean that knew it whenever we hired him to be our GM. Just look at the signing when you got Robert Hunt. Robert Hunt was a top 4 guard, if I'm not mistaken, coming out of free agency. And what did he do? He gave him the bag. First major offseason free agent that we brought to Carolina. One thing Bryce needed was guards. And then you double down and get Damian Lewis out of Seattle. I'm really looking at both of these gentlemen that's going to help Bryce. You have them alongside Ike Ekwonu and Taylor Moton. What else do we really need to ask for? He has a solidified line. He has big guys up front. And one thing, most of the pressure that were coming through Carolina with having 63 sacks over the year was coming from the guard position. You had a Russian roulette have of guards playing for playing time, and Bryce never had a consistent line in front of him. Not only did we address the offensive line, we also addressed our defense as well, man. Shout out to, again, Dan Morgan bringing in guys that fit our scheme, fit Evero's scheme. One thing Dave Canales wanted to make sure was we kept Easy E. Evero as our defensive coordinator. Sean Robertson and Josie Jewell, two guys that have familiarity with him. With Ashante Robinson coming from the New York Giants. Definitely a 6'4", 300-pound nose tackle. What else can you ask for to go along with DB Big Grizzly? There's nothing else you can ask for. That line does have a weakness with edges, but up the middle, that's going to be a tough task when you have a 6'5" and a 6'4", two big uglies. I mean, you know, that's what we call them whenever you're that big size. But I definitely love the acquisition because now Derrick Brown has a running mate to go alongside with him. Josie Jewell, I'm definitely appreciative of bringing that linebacker because a lot of people are so crying about Frankie Louisville. Frankie Louisville, yes, he's up north in Washington. But if you look at Jewell's game, Jewell is a hard-hitting, get-your-nose type dirty linebacker. And I appreciate Evero bringing him to reconnect with him. Yes, we also got Troy Hill and Mr. Dane Jackson as well, man. Both of these gentlemen have connections, one with our GM and Mr. Dan Jackson, and then Troy Hill. We saw what he was able to do whenever Evero and Scott Fitter were able to bring him in-house. I do think these acquisitions will help. Troy Hill, a lot of people are calling for it. I really think that room is getting deeper. And again, when you bring Dan Jackson over as well, who around the league, they think he can be a very solid corner. Just need an opportunity. You need an opportunity here at Carolina. Dante Jackson left a void, and now we bring in Dan Jackson. We always got to have a DJ here on the team, man. So I definitely am ready to see what he's able to do. And I also think we'll possibly bring somebody via draft as well, man. We cannot forget about ISM and Raheem Blackshear. Two players that a lot of people wanted to bring back because of production, both great on special teams. And when they were able to have the ball in their hand, they produced. If it was a lightning run that we needed, if it was a catch, if it was a punt return or kick return, both of these gentlemen were electric, man. And I appreciate Dan Morgan giving them an opportunity to play in a different system and a different coach. So for me, I'm really giving overall, I'll give a solid B+. You definitely got your trenches filled on both sides, and you bring in a wide receiver that you really didn't have to pay pennies for. And you were able to trade an asset off that you were either going to lose and not get anything back. But also, you have to look at these visits that we have. You got Chase Young coming in. You got Jadeveon Clowney. You got one of the prior boys coming in. We're not done. I don't know if this is a retool in everybody's eyes or this is a rebuild. But when you bring in players like you bring in now, and like Dan Morgan alluded to in his introductory press conference, when he first came to Carolina, we had a down year. And that very next year, we went to the Super Bowl. Not saying Carolina's going to make the Super Bowl. I don't need anybody to say, oh, CW said Carolina's going to the Super Bowl. No, we're not saying that. But what I'm saying is Dan Morgan is doing the work that he needs to do. Dan Morgan is getting his hands dirty. He's bringing the dollars that he needs to bring in. And before we hit April in this draft, he's making sure that we have as many holes as we can fill right now going into the draft. And the way it looks like, Bryce is going to get help on his end. Yes, the defense looks depleted, but just look what everyone was able to do with all the injuries we had last year on this team. So going forward in April, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what Dan Morgan and Dave Canales can do with this team. Gets me excited, just like we were last year. I'm gonna keep my, expectations mid right now, but right now Dan Morgan is cooking. I can't wait to see these other signings, man. Definitely tell me what you guys think, man. Leave a comment there here in the section for us. If you are new to the channel, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button to the left of it as well, man. And everybody that's been asking my mama do a quick update, and I appreciate everybody for their prayers, man. It's a little struggle for us right here now, man, but I definitely appreciate all the prayers and concerns, man. It shows a lot of love, man. So as we always do here, to close the show out, we say one love, stay blessed, everybody stay safe.